I remember noticing how easily they said it, as if the sentence had been practiced somewhere else before it reached the table. We decided to cash out all the properties and divide them among us three. My brother didn't look at me when he said it. He was focused on his plate, pushing food around like the conversation didn't require eye contact to be valid. You get nothing. There was a small pause after that, not long enough to invite disagreement, just long enough to let it settle. My mother nodded, not sharply, not apologetically either, just a confirmation, like she was agreeing with the weather report. You left this family. I remember thinking how clean that sounded. Like departure was a single moment, a door closing, not years of drifting, of trying to stay without shrinking too much. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. There wasn't a space for either. I stood up, pushed my chair in quietly, and walked out. No one stopped me. Outside, the air felt strangely neutral, not colder, not warmer, just unaffected, like nothing significant had happened, even though something had clearly ended. My phone buzzed before I reached the car. A number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Almost. "This is your lawyer," the voice said when I answered. Direct. No preamble. "They've filed papers. It concerns your assets." I didn't respond immediately. The word assets felt misplaced, like it belonged to someone else's life. "They're attempting to include properties that are legally tied to you," he continued. "We need to review this." Something shifted then. Not anger, not even fear, just a quiet awareness that the conversation at dinner hadn't been about family at all. It had been about positioning. The next 2 days were quieter than I expected. No calls from home, no messages, just documents, old agreements I hadn't looked at in years, purchase records, transfers that had never been formalized properly, decisions made on trust, on convenience, on the assumption that no one would ever need to prove anything. I saw patterns I hadn't noticed before, not because they were hidden but because I hadn't been looking for them. There were things in my name that I hadn't actively claimed, things I had contributed to, then stepped away from without closing the loop. Leaving, it turned out, hadn't erased those connections. 48 hours later, my brother called. I watched the phone ring for a few seconds before answering. His voice was different, tighter, like something had pressed against it. "What did you do?" he asked. I leaned back in the chair, looking at the papers spread across the table. There was a clarity to them now, a structure that didn't rely on memory or interpretation. "I didn't do anything," I said. "That's not what they're saying." He exhaled sharply. "We got a notice. They're questioning the filings, freezing parts of the process." He paused, like he was waiting for me to fill in something he didn't understand. "They said some of the assets aren't transferable the way we submitted." I could hear it then, not panic exactly, but the absence of certainty. The place where assumption had been. "I guess they know better than us," I said. Silence stretched between us. Not heavy, just unfamiliar. "You left," he said again, but this time it sounded less like an accusation and more like something he was trying to confirm for himself. "I moved," I replied. "That's not the same thing." He didn't respond to that. In the background, I could hear faint voices, papers shifting, a door closing, the kind of noise that comes from people trying to fix something quickly. "We didn't think," he started, then stopped. I didn't ask him to finish, because I already understood what he meant. They hadn't thought I would matter in this anymore. Not legally, not structurally, not in a way that could interrupt them. "I'm not trying to take anything from you," I said, and I meant it. Another pause. "Then, what do you want?" It was a simple question, but it took longer to answer than I expected. "Clarity," I said finally, "about what's actually mine. And what isn't." No emphasis, no threat, just a boundary that hadn't been there before. The call ended without resolution. No agreement, no apology, but something had shifted. Not loudly, not completely, just enough. The document stayed on my table for a few more days. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I wasn't in a rush anymore. For the first time, the situation didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I could step into or away from on my own terms, and that was enough.